My friends, imagine this for a moment. You wake up in the morning, but instead of rushing straight into your phone, your emails, or the noise of the world, you begin with one simple practice that has the power to double your focus, sharpen your mind, and completely transform the way you show up in your work and in your life. Just one habit, one small shift, that can give you the clarity you've been searching for. The truth is, most of us lose our energy, not because we don't work hard, but because we are scattered. Our minds are split between yesterday's regrets, today's tasks, and tomorrow's worries. We are present physically, but mentally absent. And when focus is missing, productivity disappears, relationships weaken, and inner peace slips away. But if you can start your day by grounding your mind before the world distracts you, you take back control. The habit is simple. Spend the first 10 minutes of your morning in silence with yourself. Call it meditation, call it reflection, call it prayer. What matters is that it becomes a consistent practice. In those 10 minutes, breathe deeply, sit quietly, and let your thoughts settle. This is not about removing thoughts completely. It is about observing them, slowing them down, and creating space between your mind and your actions. When you create space, you create clarity. And clarity is the foundation of focus. Think of your mind like a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, the water stays cloudy. But if you set it down, the mud slowly settles and the water becomes clear. The morning silence works the same way for your mind. It allows the chaos to settle so you can see things as they really are. When you begin your day with this clarity, your work becomes sharper, your decisions wiser, and your relationships more meaningful. Now here's the key: consistency. Doing it once will make you feel calm for a day, but doing it every morning will rewire your brain. Science today proves what ancient wisdom has been saying for thousands of years. A consistent practice of stillness improves concentration, emotional balance, and even creativity. If you do this every morning for 21 days, you'll notice your mind becoming more disciplined, less reactive, and far more focused. But if you want to make it truly powerful, don't just sit silently, direct your thoughts. Use that time to remind yourself of your purpose. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I must give my best to today? When you set your mind on one priority, distractions lose their power. Because the truth is, it's not time management that makes you successful. It's focus management. So tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, before you scroll through the world, gift yourself those 10 minutes. Sit in silence, breathe. Remind yourself of your purpose. Anchor your mind before the day begins. This one habit is not just about doubling your focus. It's about doubling the quality of your life. My friends, don't let your mornings be stolen by the noise outside. Protect them. Own them. Because the way you start your morning determines how you live your day. And how you live your day eventually becomes how you live your life. And when you master your mornings with consistency, you don't just focus more. You live more, you love more, and you become unstoppable. My dear friends, life today is moving at a pace faster than ever before. The moment we open our eyes in the morning, our attention is captured by notifications, emails, messages, and the noise of the outside world. Our mind, instead of being calm and fresh, becomes restless even before the day truly begins. And when the mind begins restless, the whole day carries the same vibration of distraction. But what if I told you that the key to doubling your focus, your productivity, and even your happiness lies not in doing more, but in doing less. In fact, in doing nothing at all, in embracing silence. Silence, my friends, is not emptiness. It is power. It is the seed of clarity, the root of focus, and the foundation of all meaningful success in life. Imagine your mind as a lake. When the wind blows and the water is disturbed, you cannot see your reflection clearly. The ripples distort the image. But when the water is still, calm, and undisturbed, the reflection is crystal clear. Our mind is no different. When it is filled with noise, agitation, and endless thoughts, we lose clarity. We cannot focus. But when we practice silence, even for just a few minutes each morning, the ripples of distraction settle, and we begin to see life with clarity. We begin to see ourselves with clarity. That clarity, in turn, becomes focus, and focus becomes power. Many people think silence means simply not speaking. But true silence is not just the absence of words, it is the quieting of the inner chatter. How often do we find ourselves physically quiet but mentally noisy? Sitting in a room, yet our thoughts are racing faster than traffic on a busy highway. True silence is the ability to slow down the storm within. It is to create a small gap between stimulus and response, a space where wisdom can enter. And this, my friends, is where transformation begins. Every morning, we have a choice. Either we let the world rush into us before we have even stabilized our mind, or we take a few minutes to center ourselves, to step into silence before stepping into the word. Those first 10 minutes of silence are not wasted time. They are an investment in the rest of your day. You may think you are losing 10 minutes, but in reality, you are gaining hours of focus, clarity, and productivity. This is the paradox of silence. By doing nothing, you actually achieve more. Let me share with you a small story. Once there was a wise king who was always surrounded by his ministers, soldiers, and advisors. Every day was filled with noise, discussions, and decisions. Yet despite having everything, he felt restless, unfocused, and burdened. One day, he asked his spiritual teacher, "Why do I feel so exhausted even though I am doing my best? I have wealth, power, respect, and still I cannot find peace." The teacher took the king to a quiet lake at sunrise. They both sat in silence for a while. The king grew restless and asked, "Why are we just sitting here?" The teacher smiled and said, "Look at the lake. When we arrived, the water was disturbed, and you could not see the bottom. But now, after sitting quietly, the water has settled. Can you see the reflection of the trees and the sky?" The king nodded. The teacher then said, "This is your mind. Every morning you rush into your duties before letting the mind settle. The ripples of your thoughts never rest, so your focus is lost. If you want clarity, you must first allow silence. Only then can you see clearly." The king understood the lesson and began practicing silence each morning. Slowly, his focus sharpened, his decisions improved, and his peace returned. This story, though simple, carries a profound truth. Silence is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Just as we clean our body every morning by taking a shower, we must also cleanse our mind through silence. If you leave your home untidy for many days, the clutter builds up, and eventually you cannot move freely. In the same way, if you don't allow silence, the clutter of thoughts builds up, and you cannot focus freely. Silence is the cleaning of the mind. But the question is, why is silence so powerful? Let's look at it deeper. Modern psychology tells us that the brain receives over 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are repetitive, unnecessary, and often negative. When we are bombarded by thoughts, our focus gets scattered. We jump from one task to another, from one worry to the next, without ever giving full attention to what truly matters. But silence interrupts this pattern. It allows the brain to slow down, to shift from chaos into order. Neuroscience even shows that when you practice silence or meditation in the morning, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus, decision-making, and self-control, becomes more active and efficient. Imagine that. With just a few minutes of silence, you are literally reprogramming your brain to focus better, to work smarter, and to live calmer. Now think spiritually. In many traditions, silence is seen as the language of the soul. Words are powerful, but silence is often even more powerful because it connects us to our inner self and to the divine. In silence, we listen, not to the world, but to our conscience, to our intuition, to that gentle inner voice that often gets drowned in the noise of daily life. When you practice silence each morning, you are not just preparing your mind for focus. You are also tuning your heart to wisdom. You begin to act not just with efficiency, but with alignment to your deeper purpose. But here lies the challenge: silence is uncomfortable. The moment we sit quietly, our mind begins to rebel. Thoughts rush in, worries multiply and silence feels heavy. Many people give up saying, I can't do this, my mind is too restless. But remember, my friends, the mind is like a wild horse. The first time you try to control it, it resists. But if you keep practicing with patience and consistency, it becomes your friend, your companion, your greatest strength. Silence is a discipline, and like any discipline, it takes practice. You may not feel the results on day one, but stay consistent and you will see the shift. There is a beautiful analogy from music. Between every note, there is a pause. Without the pause, music becomes noise. The pause gives rhythm, meaning, and beauty to the melody. In the same way, silence is the pause that gives rhythm and meaning to our lives. Without silence, life becomes noise. With silence, life becomes music. And who would not want their life to be music? Let me give you something practical. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, resist the urge to pick up your phone. Instead, sit down in a comfortable spot. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Don't try to force your mind to be empty. Just observe. Watch your thoughts as if they are clouds passing through the sky. Don't hold them, don't fight them. Just let them pass. Slowly, the storm will calm. At first, maybe you can do it only for 3 minutes. Then increase to 5. Then 10. Over time, you will notice something remarkable. The more you practice silence, the more energy you have, the more focused you feel, and the more peaceful you become. The beauty of this habit is that it doesn't just benefit your work, it benefits every part of your life. At work, you become sharper and more productive. In relationships, you become more present and patient. In personal growth, you become more disciplined and resilient. Silence multiplies its benefits everywhere because it trains the root, the mind. If the root is strong, the tree of life bears better fruit. Remember this, silence is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about engaging with the world more powerfully. Just as an archer pulls back the arrow in silence before releasing it with force, silence pulls back your mind so that your actions can be more focused, more impactful. Without silence, you are shooting arrows blindly, hoping they land somewhere. With silence, you are aiming directly at the target of your purpose. And my dear friends, if there is one thing you must carry from this, it is that silence is power, but only when practiced with consistency. Doing it once will refresh you for a day. Doing it daily will transform your life. Imagine yourself a year from now, after practicing 10 minutes of silence every morning. Your focus will be sharper, your stress lower, your energy higher, your decisions wiser. This is not imagination, this is reality waiting for you, if you choose consistency. So I invite you, I urge you, I challenge you, begin tomorrow. Start small, but start. 10 minutes of silence each morning can double your focus, not just at work, but in every part of life. And when you master silence, you master focus. And when you master focus, you master life itself. My friends, when we talk about transformation, when we talk about success, and when we talk about focus, there is one word that becomes the bridge between dreams and reality. That word is consistency. Most people know what to do. Many people even start doing it. But very few continue long enough to experience the fruit of their effort. And that is where the difference lies. Not in knowledge, not in talent, not even in motivation, but in consistency. Consistency builds discipline, and discipline builds destiny. Think of a drop of water falling on a rock. One drop may seem insignificant. 2 drops may not make any change. But when drop after drop falls consistently over time, even the hardest stone gets shaped. The rock does not surrender to the power of one drop, but to the persistence of many. In the same way, life does not change because of one big effort. It changes because of small efforts, repeated daily, consistently. That is the true power of discipline. When people ask me, why am I not getting results? I tried meditation, I tried silence. I tried reading, but it didn't work for me. I ask them one simple question. For how long did you try? And the answer usually is 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week. My friends, greatness does not come in a week. Growth does not come in a weekend. It comes through consistency over months and years. A seed planted today does not become a tree tomorrow. It needs sunlight, water, nurturing, and most importantly, time. Consistency is giving that seed what it needs every single day until the tree grows strong enough to stand on its own. Let me share a story with you. Once, there was a young man who wanted to learn the art of archery. He went to a master teacher and said, "Please teach me how to shoot arrows like you." The teacher gave him a bow and arrow and told him to shoot at a target. The boy tried a few times and missed. He grew frustrated and said, "This is too hard. I don't think I can do this." The teacher smiled and said, "You cannot become an archer by trying once or twice. Every day you must practice. You must stretch the bow, release the arrow, miss, try again and again and again. Only with consistency will your aim improve." The boy followed the advice, and after months of daily practice, his aim became sharp. Years later, he became a master himself. The lesson is simple: skill is not built in a moment of inspiration, but in thousands of moments of consistent discipline. Now, let's connect this to focus and life. You can practice silence once, and you may feel calm for that day. But if you want to rewire your brain, if you want to develop true inner strength, you must practice it daily. Consistency creates habit, and habit creates transformation. Many people underestimate the power of small habits because they expect instant results. But life rewards those who are patient, who are steady, who show up even when motivation disappears. Motivation is like a spark. It can light the fire. But consistency is the wood that keeps the fire burning. Without consistency, motivation fades and the fire goes out. How many of us have made New Year resolutions? We start with enthusiasm in January, but by February or March, we forget them. Why? Because we rely only on motivation, not discipline. Motivation can get you started, but only consistency will keep you going. Let's also look at this from science. Studies in neuroscience show that the brain is like plastic. It changes with repetition. When you repeat an action daily, you strengthen the neural pathways in your brain. This is called neuroplasticity. For example, when you meditate or practice silence consistently, your brain literally rewires itself to become calmer, more focused, and less reactive. The more consistent you are, the stronger these pathways become. But if you stop practicing, the brain slips back to old patterns. That is why discipline is not a one-time choice, it is a daily choice. Spiritually too, consistency has always been emphasized. Scriptures across traditions speak of the power of daily practice, whether it is prayer, chanting, meditation, or service. A single prayer said in desperation has power, yes, but the real transformation comes when prayer becomes a habit, when it becomes part of who you are. Discipline in spiritual life is not about rigidity, it is about anchoring the soul. Just as the body needs food daily, the soul needs nourishment daily. And silence, reflection, or any uplifting practice, when done consistently, feeds the soul. Now here's the challenge. Consistency is not easy. The mind always seeks comfort. It says, "I'll skip today, I'll do it tomorrow, I'm too busy, too tired, too distracted." And this is where discipline comes in. Discipline is doing what is right even when you don't feel like doing it. Discipline is the bridge between your intentions and your achievements. Imagine an athlete who trains only when he feels like it. Will he ever win? Imagine a musician who practices only when she feels inspired. Will she ever master her art? No, mastery belongs to those who are consistent. And mastery of life is no different. If you want focus, if you want peace, if you want success, you cannot treat discipline as an option. It must become non-negotiable. Consistency means showing up even on days you don't want to. Especially on days you don't want to. Because it is those days that strengthen your character. Anyone can do something when it feels easy. But when you do it despite resistance, you are building inner strength. You are training your mind to obey you, rather than you obeying your mind. Let me share another analogy. Think of brushing your teeth. None of us say, "I brushed yesterday, so today I don't need to." We do it daily, not because we see instant results, but because we know the long-term importance. The same applies to silence, meditation, or any habit that strengthens focus. You may not see results tomorrow, but over weeks, months, and years, the results become undeniable. Your clarity increases, your stress decreases, your focus doubles. And all because you were consistent. There is also a spiritual dimension to this. Life often tests us. Challenges come, distractions come, obstacles come. Consistency is what carries us through. When storms arrive, a tree with shallow roots falls. But a tree with deep roots, nurtured daily by water and sunlight, stands strong. In the same way, consistency develops roots in our character. It prepares us for difficulties. When others panic, you stay calm. When others give up, you persevere. And this resilience is born only from discipline. My friends, do not underestimate the small daily steps. 10 minutes of silence daily may not look like much. Reading a few pages of a book daily may not look like much. Exercising for 20 minutes daily may not look like much. But over time, these consistent actions compound. They create massive results. The problem is, inconsistency breaks the compounding. You cannot expect results if you keep starting and stopping. Just like you cannot fill a bucket if you keep pouring water and then emptying it again. The bucket fills only when you keep pouring consistently. Consistency also frees you from decision fatigue. When something becomes a habit, you no longer waste energy deciding whether or not to do it. You just do it. That is why successful people often have simple routines. They don't rely on motivation every day. They rely on discipline. And because of that, they achieve results far beyond what ordinary effort could bring. Let's also remember that consistency is not about perfection. You may miss a day, you may slip sometimes. But consistency means you come back. You don't quit because of one failure. Imagine missing one meal. Does it mean you never eat again? No, you eat the next meal. In the same way, if you miss a day of practice, return the next day. The real danger is not missing once, the danger is giving up completely. Discipline means persistence, not perfection. So how do we build consistency? Start small. Don't aim for 1 hour of silence on day 1. Start with 5 minutes. Build the habit first. Once the habit is strong, you can increase the time. This way, you are setting yourself up for success, not failure. And remember to connect your habit with a higher purpose. Don't just do silence for focus. Do it because it makes you a better human being, calmer, kinder, wiser. When the purpose is higher, discipline becomes easier. Over time, consistency becomes your identity. You no longer say, I try to meditate. You say, I am someone who meditates. You no longer say, I try to be disciplined. You say, I am disciplined. Identity is powerful, and consistency shapes identity. Every time you practice, you are voting for the person you want to become. One vote may not change much, but many votes cast consistently create a new self. And this is why I say, consistency builds discipline, and discipline builds destiny. If you want to know where your life will be in 5 years, don't look at your dreams. Look at your daily routines. Because your life does not change by chance, it changes by habits. And habits are born of consistency. So, my friends, do not be discouraged if results don't come instantly. Trust the process. Be consistent. Because even if you don't see the results today, the roots are growing underground. And one day, you will wake up to find that the tree of your discipline has grown tall, strong, and fruitful. That is the reward of consistency. And so I say to you, begin now. Start with small steps, but take them every day. Don't let excuses steal your discipline. Don't let comfort steal your destiny. Because at the end of the day, greatness is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in moments of consistency. When you choose discipline daily, you are shaping a life of focus, strength, and fulfillment. And that life, my dear friends, is within your reach if only you choose consistency today. My dear friends, for so long we have been told that time management is the secret to success. We read books, attend seminars, and make schedules to manage our hours and minutes. And yes, time management has its place. But here is the truth. The real game changer in life is not time management, it is focus management. Because time is equal for everyone. You, me, the most successful person in the world, and the person struggling at the bottom. We all have 24 hours in a day. Time is constant. What makes the difference is focus. Two people may spend the same amount of time on a task, but one produces extraordinary results while the other produces almost nothing. The difference is not time, it is focus. Imagine a magnifying glass. If you hold it over a piece of paper and move it around quickly, nothing happens. The sun's rays touch the paper but produce no effect. But if you hold the glass steady, focusing the rays on one point, the paper catches fire. The sun was always powerful. The rays were always there, but only when focus was applied did transformation occur. In the same way, our time is like the sunlight. But unless we direct it with focus, it produces little effect. With focus, the same hours can create miracles. The tragedy of modern life is not the lack of time, but the lack of focus. People wake up in the morning, and the first thing they do is scroll through their phones. Their attention is scattered by news, notifications, and endless distractions. By the time they start their real work, half their energy is already gone. They sit at their desk for hours, but only a fraction of that time is spent in deep, meaningful work. The rest is wasted in multitasking, interruptions, and distractions. We complain that 24 hours is not enough, but the truth is 24 hours is more than enough if we learn to manage focus. Think of a farmer. If he scatters his seeds randomly across a barren land, very few will grow. But if he plants them carefully in fertile soil and nurtures them with attention, they yield a rich harvest. In life, our energy and attention are like seeds. If we scatter them everywhere, they yield little. But if we focus them on the right soil, our purpose, our priorities, they yield abundance. Time is not the problem. Where we focus our time is the problem. Let me share a story. There was once a wise monk who was approached by a young man complaining, "I am so busy. I have no time for anything. My work is endless. My responsibilities are overwhelming, and I feel exhausted." The monk smiled and handed him a jar filled with big rocks. He asked, "Is the jar full?" The young man said, "Yes." The monk then poured small pebbles into the jar, and they filled the gaps between the big rocks. He asked again, "No, is it full?" The young man said, "Yes, now it is full." Then the monk poured sand into the jar, filling every tiny space. Finally, he poured water, which seeped in completely. The monk said, "This jar is like your life. If you don't put the big rocks first, your priorities, your time will be filled with small things, and you'll have no space left for what truly matters. But if you focus on the big rocks first, you will always find space for the smaller things." The young man understood it was not about managing time, but managing focus on the priorities. So, my friends, ask yourself, what are your big rocks? What truly matters in your life? Is it your health, your relationships, your spiritual growth, your purpose? Or are you filling your jar with sand and water, distractions, trivial tasks, meaningless scrolling? Because life is too short to spend your focus on things that do not matter. Success is not about doing more, it is about focusing on what matters most. From a scientific perspective, focus is deeply connected to performance. Research in psychology shows that the human brain cannot truly multitask. What we call multitasking is really task switching. Each time we switch, we lose focus and productivity. Studies suggest that it can take up to 23 minutes to regain deep focus after an interruption. Think about it. How much of our time is lost not because we don't have enough hours, but because we keep breaking our focus. In today's digital world, focus is becoming rarer, and that is why it is becoming more valuable. Those who can protect and sharpen their focus will always stand out. Spiritually too, focus has always been seen as the path to mastery. In meditation, the mind is trained to focus on one object, one breath, one mantra. Why? Because a focused mind becomes a powerful mind. A distracted mind cannot go deep, cannot connect, cannot experience peace. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, "The mind that is not steady wanders like the wind." But when the mind is focused, it becomes your greatest ally. The same truth applies in work, in relationships, in life. Focus brings depth. Depth brings meaning. Meaning brings fulfillment. Now let us be practical. How can we improve focus? The secret lies in how we start our mornings. If you begin your day with silence and clarity, you are already training your focus. But beyond silence, you must set your intention. Ask yourself every morning, what is the one thing I must give my best to today? Not 10 things, not 20, just one. This single question cuts through the noise and directs your energy. Because remember, success is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right things with full attention. There is a beautiful analogy from archery. When an archer draws his bow, he does not aim at 10 targets. He chooses one. His whole attention, his whole breath, his whole strength is directed at that one target. Only then can the arrow hit its mark. In life, we must live like archers, not like wanderers. Choose your target and focus your energy there. That is how extraordinary results are created. But here comes the challenge: distractions. They are everywhere: notifications, social media, constant noise. And here, discipline meets focus. If you do not control your environment will control your focus. That is why consistent habits matter. Switch off unnecessary notifications. Create time blocks for deep work. Protect your mornings. Practice silence. These are not just productivity hacks. They are spiritual disciplines that train your mind to focus. And don't think focus is only for work. Focus is equally important in relationships. How often are we with our loved ones physically, but mentally somewhere else? We are at dinner but scrolling our phones. We are listening but half-heartedly. Focus is the greatest gift you can give another person. When you are fully present with someone, they feel valued, respected, and loved. Relationships thrive not on the amount of time we give, but on the quality of focus we bring. Health too depends on